My friends, if you're developing your career, if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to contribute and make impact, then sameness is no kind of strategy. That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, for staying fans, for being supporters this whole time. Let me remind you that a new cohort of the Forge is starting in March 2023. Check the show notes and my social media profiles if you want to find out more and sign up for an upcoming Zoom webinar. It'll be like having a group coaching session with me, and I invite you to join. If you've never worked with me before, come see me. You don't want to miss this. You can also join my free community. The link is also in the show notes below. I'd love to see you there. We're doing free workshops and challenges to help you improve, increase your game. Which brings me to my next point. If you're looking to advance your career, maybe you're thinking, hey, let's get outside of technical Scrum. Maybe move from Scrum Master to coach, or from employee to consultant, or maybe even a move to entrepreneur. There's something that I see a lot of people getting wrong in their messaging, their social media, their marketing, and I want to address it with you today. But first, let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there on what we need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's get those fundamentals hammered down and create a truly unstoppable force in this industry. This info is and always has been free. My only ask is that you tell people if you love it. Look around you guys. I know all of you follow someone somewhere, maybe a favorite blog or a podcast like mine or social media or a LinkedIn account. And more, we're using that information to learn and to grow and to drive our agile practices. And that's fantastic. But you might have noticed that everything is starting to sound the same. And the sameness isn't a good kind of sameness. The sameness that I see is people talking about rules and regulations and framework standards and what does the Scrum Guide say? You have to remember something important. The goal of any kind of framework or philosophy should be to guide your thinking, to discuss and strengthen and sometimes challenge best principles, to apply them ruthlessly, see what works, fix what doesn't, but most importantly, to grow your practice and your service and the value that you add organically by doing what matters and what works, like we've always said in the podcast. But more and more I see people, especially on social media, and there's so many great accounts you can follow and so many great groups that you can join. I have a community, but so many of my colleagues have one as well, and they're all valuable. It's all great to congregate people and exchange ideas and network and build and help each other. But what's the real concern is the clumping of ideas and discussions around some magnetic center. There are trendy conversations in Agile right now. There are trendy conversations in social media. There's trendy conversations in leadership. They come and go in waves. They rarely stay. The memes surface, the discussions are lit, and the arguments ensue. But they're always around the same thing. Have you noticed that? Agreeable, safe, and easy is the worst thing that you can do to your style or your brand as an Agile leader or leader of any kind. If you're only saying what everyone else is saying, then you're a follower, aren't you? You're just copying what's already been put out there, maybe trying to put a new spin on it. But you're not taking things anywhere new, and if you are, you're not taking it anywhere interesting. So either we're talking about the same old stuff. What time should I start my stand-up? How many people am I allowed to have on my team? Is the product owner supposed to come to this meeting or that meeting? Either we're talking about those things or we're elaborating on aspects of those things like, here are 7 new rules that a Scrum Master must never violate in their retrospective meeting. All interesting, I guess, but it's too detailed. It's too focused on things that fundamentally don't matter. And they don't matter partially because we know the waves are going to change in 3 months. We'll be talking about something completely different, usually completely opposite, in the community 3 months from now. But also this endless focus on details that may or may not work depending on your personality, the makeup of your team, the profile of the company, the type of project or program that you're working on. All of these things could render this information obsolete. I just saw a post the other day. Someone said something like 25 books that every product owner should read. 25? How much compelling, differentiating information can really be out there on the art and craft of managing a product that you couldn't learn with a couple of guidelines and a whole bunch of experience and mentoring and working through problems in the here and now? And the worst part of it for me is, especially this is rampant on social media, is trying to create things that feed the algorithm. So have you noticed that not only is the content the same, but the way the content looks, feels, and what it says seems to have a pattern to it? Scrum Masters, are you struggling to get good feedback in your retrospective? Here are 5 tips that can help you today. Now, I've been guilty of this too, but at some point I had to unplug from it because the reason that we were doing that is the information that we got from so-called social media experts and our peers in the field who were getting likes and follows and comments and shares and all the things that we assumed were valuable. And there's no question that if you're trying to market an agile practice, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're an independent coach, or especially if you're trying to help other people, you need to reach people. And the only way to reach people is to feed the algorithm satisfying stuff. The problem is that algorithm pleasing is no different than people pleasing. You're doing things not because they're right, not because they're true and authentic to you. You're doing them because you're trying to get a certain result out of somebody, in this case, an invisible somebody. Anytime you're people-pleasing or algorithm-pleasing, I think you're cheating your crew, your people, your niche. If your solitary goal is to accrue likes and other badges of social media merit, then you're going to behave in ways that are limiting your potential. As always, the right answer to almost any question has to do with balance. Should you never try and please the algorithm? Should you never tap into trends like remixing or the bubble popping that happens on TikTok and all those other platforms? No, not necessarily. But if that's all you do, you're just demonstrating that you're one of a million rather than one in a million. And I'd rather see people amplify their true voice, speak their truth, say something controversial, not for the sake of controversy, but for the sake of showcasing your art, of saying what's true for you. What did you experience? What did you learn? What do you know to be true? What matters most? And I personally am interested in those voices that amplify the experiences and the opinions that help our customers get better at something. Some OKR, some metric, some outcome, some valuable business thing that we can deliver. Maybe using Agile principles and philosophies, maybe using Scrum frameworks and values. I don't know. It doesn't have to be that way, but it could be that way. If that's what you're trained in, I think that we have a duty to bring what we've learned and what we've gained from these beautiful frameworks and beautiful philosophies and amplify them and extend them and bring them into the future. Let's not have these tools sitting still, never evolving. Let's instead see where we can apply them to other unexpected areas where we could be delivering value. To my mind, if you want to be recession-proof, if you want to stand out from the pack of Scrum Masters who are entering the industry, whether you're new or whether you're established, at some point, you have to show your distinction. You have to be able to describe why someone would choose you over any other Scrum Master in the sea of Scrum Masters, which is getting bigger and bigger every day. If certifications don't distinguish you, great. What does? It must be how you use your artwork to create better results for somebody. Maybe you're fixing a social problem or a wellness problem or a political problem or a community problem or a security problem. Who says it always has to be about a tech feature, something embedded in a piece of software? That's nonsense. The principles of Scrum and agility can be used anywhere. And I don't care if you call yourself a Scrum Master anymore, whether you're a guide or whether you're a team lead or any other word, someone who can help a group of people work together using great philosophies, great principles, simplified tools, and or frameworks to deliver a beautiful, fantastic, stellar outcome that makes people feel alive and love their work and be valued for what they do. You can do that anywhere. Your title absolutely doesn't matter, and I'm living proof because I don't call myself a Scrum Master or Agile coach anymore. There's barely a word for it. I say I create heroes. I create massive, unforgettable experiences and artwork that help people find what it is they're meant to do, to figure out how to showcase that in a way that's authentic and unique to them. And then I help them go hit home runs with the right disciplines and simple techniques that are easy to remember, take a lifetime to master, but are the most effective means of hitting your objective and getting where you want to go. Now that means I can speak differently. I can go on social media and I can counter the common thinking. I can create an alternative viewpoint. I can even shake my finger at the ordinary thinking that's out there. I can show how I'm different from my competition, and if that's something that you want and crave, then I'm the perfect choice for you. These are the kinds of messages that you have to get out on social media. If you're going to be on social media and you want to give people a compelling reason to choose you, otherwise you're just the same bubble-popping, ding-dong sound-making, cartoon poop-flying, 80s music, dancing stereotype that's all over the internet. We don't need more sameness. Sameness is not a strategy. If Facebook made the same kind of products that everyone else was making, they wouldn't be Facebook. And you can say the same thing about Apple, about Microsoft, about Tesla, about any of the big companies that we know and love, that we consider pioneers, that we consider rule-defying sculptors of our modern or future world. Balance, my friends. Chase the algorithm for a bit if you must. Learn the basic fundamental rules of LinkedIn or Instagram. What kinds of posts tend to get buried and what kinds of posts tend to get carried. See what I did there? I rhymed it for you. But after that, balance your rule worshiping and your adherence to the norms of social media with your ability and your desire to show your greatness, to show your distinction. Speak your truth. Talk about what you've discovered and what you've found. Tell your truth. This matters, and the world needs more of it. And the more people who have courage to buck the algorithm, or something that rhymes with it, to be courageous, to say what you believe, to say what works for you, it has worked for your teams and your colleagues, your customers, tell those stories. Tell those stories especially if they're contrary to convention. And by the way, don't try to fool your customers. If you haven't achieved real, measurable, tangible breakthrough success, something that revolutionizes the way you and your company deliver, then don't go out there celebrating the Scrum Guide stuff if it's not working for you. And by the way, it's not working for many. Tell us your stories about what you want, what you desire, what you're trying to create, and what you have created, and let it inspire others with its distinction, with its uniqueness, with its freshness, its rawness. Talk about your failures. Move the needle on the craft. We've been sitting still for 20 years. It's time for different ideas to come out. And for me, different ideas doesn't mean taking the manifesto and saying, well, we favor erasers over pencils. Like, to me, that's just novelty. It's not real innovation. Don't be lazy. Don't be weak. Get behind something. Create something new. The world is your canvas. Why would you paint somebody else's painting on it? So if you're involved in social media, if you're out there in the public eye, if you make stuff that other people consume and follow and use to guide their daily practices, remember there are people out there who don't want the employee handbook. They don't want the Scrum Guide. They want to know what works. They want to know what's different. They want to try something exciting. They want to be allowed to create, build new things, because that's where they get their fulfillment from. That's their purpose. And if those are the people that you're trying to serve, if that's the kind of impact you want to make, then my friends, sameness is not a strategy. Don't be a pleaser. Don't be a worshiper. Most importantly, don't be a follower. Be a true original. I hope this one inspires you and helps you. I want to thank you for being subscribers and being listeners, tuning in and reaching out and letting me know how this content helps you. I appreciate you, my friend. You can find me as always on Instagram at badassagile, at badassagile.com. I look forward to next time. And until then, stay badass.